Alright, so we are back, and I actually pulled out a camera that I never had a storage card for, but I got a storage card, so hopefully it's a little bit better quality. I gotta find the microphone to make sure you guys can hear me on this thing. I'll just assume that you can. And obviously, since I'm narrating like this, I have some intention of putting it online, so I guess I've got an audience now. So cheers, thanks for hanging out. And I wanted to let you guys know that I did go to the local hardware store and found the same. If you remember, the last issue was that the long screws for the radiator meant to mount the fans to the radiator were not actually long enough to go through top to bottom. They'd be going through this bracket, then this spacer, and then this grill, and then the fan under it, and then into the radiator itself. I've got just the basic screws, these old guys mounted in here, just keeping that on. I was doing some visual tests late last night, but basically got the same thread and diameter on these. I'll have to paint them something, but whatever. They're super cheap, and ultimately, you know, I only really needed like maybe 1/4 of an inch more, so I'm gonna end up probably hacking off all these some amount on with a hacksaw just to make it work. But long story short, I found screws that'll work. They were super cheap. And next up, I think I'm going to go ahead and take this plate off. I got to take the motherboard off, get this guy off. That's not exciting. There's 3 screws here, 3 screws here. I think it's these guys. No. There they are, these guys. Shit. Oh, don't make me take the radiator off. Well, if I have to, I have to. Anyway, that's what I'm doing now. And then I think I'll mount the power supply to it. Okay, so I got the rear bracket off. This guy. I guess this camera's a little better, getting some of the smaller detail. Hope you guys don't hate me too much for using the cell phone for the first half. I just am way more excited about the build than the recording bit. So cheers. Now that I have that off, we are going to actually mount the fans. Now we're going to do the forward test now that I have screws that'll work. So I'm going to mount the 4 fans. Oh geez. Alright, so fans, fan grills, then the brackets, then the pump brackets, probably some other stuff. I don't know. Anyway, when we come back, hopefully we'll see a pump and reservoir sitting right here on top of some fans. So we'll be right back. Alright, so just so you can see where my head is, getting these fans going, I've got the fans in place and the covers and the grills. Again, I think there's a better name than grill. Maybe that's accurate, maybe it's not. I could care less. But they're just sitting on the radiator right now, nothing screwed in. And I'm trying to manage the pump bracket versus the radiator spacer, fan spacer, whatever. So I've got these 2 parts, right? This round bit. This guy actually sits on top of the reservoir, and this is supposed to pin into stuff, you know, 120, 140 millimeters. But using these grills, I anticipated, again, you should be able to see at least, yeah, you can see the contour there really well. They're raised at least 1 millimeter, if not 2. So I went ahead and got a bigger pair of spacers. And the way it's shaping up is that these guys. Let me see if I can get it all on here for you. This will be going against onto the radiator, this will be going onto the radiator, and then this guy basically is just going to meet up like that, and you can see pretty clearly kind of how it's going to shape up there. But it's going to be pretty bootleg, actually, which I'm fine with, as long as it works, you know? It's kind of how I do stuff. So it's going to be like that. I may end up just hacking off this top bit. No, I can't do that. Let me use it. I may end up hacking off the 140 extension on both of them. Yeah, so let me try and get these on in some capacity, and then I'll show you what that looks like. Alright, so I'm still learning shit, calling myself a dumbass regularly with this, and this appears to be another one of those cases. I'm sure folks are just watching, like folks who actually know how to do this are just calling my failures left and right, but I'm good with that. So originally I was planning on, well, here's the issue. I can't figure out how to mount these brackets, this one and the one that's usually at the top, which I've unscrewed and removed. These don't line up to increments of 120, although logically they should. They're close, but they don't. And I couldn't figure out a way. I thought I was going to be using these default brackets and these secondary brackets together, but I couldn't figure out how to mount it, period, full stop. I was even looking at shit like this, like do I need to cut these things in half, put one half down here, the other half up here. I just realized that these brackets have removable screws. So I'm going to remove them and effectively replace these posts with the other posts and just see what happens. So hopefully this works. This is mini heart attacks for me left and right, so keep your fingers crossed.